Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. This is not a health how-to, but rather a conversation with some amazing people I've had the pleasure of being with on my journey of life. Think of it more like Tuesdays with Maury, a fireside chat, or chicken soup for the soul. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor. Today, I am joined by Dr. Brian Kulbieda. He is a Marquette chiropractor, and he is also the inventor of the posture plank.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share my story. It's been a crazy ride, and every piece of that thing has a fun, unique little twist to it. And where it is today I feel like, is that platform that it should be and could be a national seller.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a lot about the detail and the specifics and all of the things, but I want to go very, very far back into your journey, really back into childhood. Like, did you ever have a thought that you wanted to be an inventor?
Oh, definitely. The story of the gluten. When I was in college, I wanted to invent something. And I was always frustrated that my gloves were always too cold. My mittens were always warm, but I didn't have dexterity. So I wanted to blend the two and have like a dexterity of a glove, but the warmth of a mitten. And, but at that point, there was like no wheelhouse or anywhere to help you. I did take an old pair of gloves and cut them and tried to put some like elastic band in them. And I wasn't, so I was just like kind of like shelf that idea. But still, there was always had something in me that wanted to express in a certain way. So I have that part of my brain that, I used to do photography. I used to, I monkeyed with this kind of stuff. And I had that expression that I needed to get out of me. And somebody along the way told me that your passion and what you do will come through you into a product if you are in that like wheelhouse of invention. So
Your passion, I mean, you're a chiropractor. So, like, this is like a health related tool, which we're going to talk so much more about. But you're in college and you have this desire to be an inventor.
yes,
But tell me a little bit about how you even became a chiropractor.
perfect. Junior year in high school, I was put in the chiropractic session in our career day. I didn't even know what the word meant. I saw it and I was just like, I got placed in it. My head was bent on being a dentist for the guy that's a white knuckler, gagger, doesn't like gross stuff. I just feel faint with blood, But I loved my dentist was a cool guy. So shout out to Jim Jackson. But he was just this cool guy that always made me feel good, even though I was like just terrified of going. So that's what I wanted to do.
It's really crazy that you would be like terrified of something or like an experience and yet think, oh, I'm going to choose that as a career.
Right, right. And that's so it changed very quickly when I went to career day and I saw Dr. Greg Nelson. He was a retired Marquette chiropractor now, but at the time he talked about it. I sat there in awe listening that you could help people in a creative, healthy way without having to use drugs, surgery, shots, pills, all these different things. And it just really sat well with me. He was an athlete, and I'm an athlete and well, I should say has been athlete, but still I wanted to help people in all different walks of life. And it just sounded like this was a great way to do that where you don't have to see gross stuff or undress people or, I even sent a guy home with a tick on him a few years ago. I was just like, oh, geez, you got a tick. Get out of here. I was like, I'm not touching that thing, but he didn't see it because it was on his back. So I
Yeah,
was glad I was able to tell them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's super valuable.
Yeah, there's no way I was pulling that thing off.
So you're in high school and are you a hockey player?
I was a hockey player, yes. I
Okay.
played through AAA in high school and, of course, had some, back then, I don't think they really, concussion had to be really bad. But, I played in Canada. My second year, got checked from behind into the boards, broken helmet, wiggled my toes to make sure I wasn't paralyzed. It was a bad hit, So, of course, we've had those incidents You don't have to be an athlete to have bad instincts. You can slip and
No.
fall on the ice or like get tackled by your
Oh,
brother in the backyard.
yeah.
There's so many different injuries that we acquire through childhood. But
Mhm.
hockey was like, I mean, I took a lot of hits. I got creamed by a Little Caesars player in Marquette, and the only word I could muster was the F word. And after the game, my dad was like, "So that was some pretty interesting language." I'm like, "Dad, that was all I could say."
Oh my.
But it's just like there's those times where, I had shoulder injury that I had
Mhm.
physical therapy for, so it was just kind of seemed right when I was listening to Dr. Nelson talk about chiropractic. It gave me that juxtaposition, right
Yes,
there in the
right.
class,
Yeah.
and it was so like right now I'm getting the chills just speaking about it because
Yeah.
it was crazy. I went home and I
Mm.
said, "Dad, I know what I want to be." And he's like, "I thought you wanted to be a dentist." And I said, "I want to be a chiropractor." And he was
Mhm.
like, "Let's take a look." So he welcomed the thought, and he went through, he was a mining degree and went through University of Minnesota. And, so he did a lot of collegiate stuff. So he knew what to do for me and help me get that things in order. And we called Palmer College of Chiropractic, and
Amazing.
they fed us information of here's what you need to do. So I just started from junior in high school, followed that road all the way to chiropractic. Never have been to one.
I mean, I think that's the thing that's
Mhm.
so cool about this story. Number one, that you were open to something that you had never known about, but you had this moment in time that resonated like, this could help not only me, this could help so many
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And I can see myself doing that. So, like, Dr. Nelson must have done a spectacular
He did a
job
great job. Yeah.
at that career fair. And then for your dad to be so open to it, because I mean, you and I both have known people who maybe have been a little bit like, let's just say anti chiropractic. And if your dad wasn't like taking you, he probably wasn't very well versed
Mhm.
or knew a lot about it himself. So how beautiful as
Yeah.
a parent that your dad was encouraging and said, "Yeah, let's figure this out together."
It was super cool. And that my older brother, he's an anesthesiologist, and he was at Northern doing his
Mm,
pre-med stuff. And when I do think back about it, he didn't even flinch,
hmm,
so it was pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
hmm
So where did you do your undergraduate degree?
I did 3 years at Northern Michigan University here in Marquette. And then I did 1 year at Eastern at University downstate, lived with some buddies in Ann Arbor, and I had a girlfriend in Kalamazoo. I needed to get out of my parents' house and experience life
Mm.
and get out there and pay bills and figure out some stuff.
Navigate like
Yeah.
those
Oh,
adult
yeah.
things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So is that Kalamazoo girlfriend your current wife?
No, she's not. No, great girl, great family. Yeah, I don't know if I should tell the funny story, but we live in the same neighborhood as her parents. And I'll be like, "Hey, Tammy, what's the dog barking at?" And she said, "Oh, it's just your ex-girlfriend's parents." And, because they walk, they're great people,
Mm.
a great family. When you're young, you just cruise different avenues and paths. And I think it was good timing, nothing but good things to say about that relationship.
We live in a small town. There's
Mhm.
so much crossover. My kids have dated people, and then you become close to not only the kids, but their family.
Yeah.
When we live in this small community, it does get tight knit, sometimes tighter than.
What you'd expect, because things happen and that's life.
Tell me a little bit about when you met your wife.
Tammy and I, we knew each other in high school. We were in the same grade. So we knew each other, and she dated a buddy of mine in high school. And many years went by. She traveled the world doing different things. She did some modeling. She
Mm.
got to do some really interesting things. Greece, Italy, Japan. She's got a great story about bringing money home from Japan in her boots, just like
Wow.
stuff like that. Back then, there were no cell phones, so she got lost. She'd have to find a payphone. It was very interesting. She should be another podcast.
You her, yeah.
She had that. I took a trimester off of school. I lived in Seattle with a buddy. We moved back home. We were at the Landmark Inn. Like I'd gone skiing. We went to the Landmark for some drinks and whatever. And I walked down to see who else was in there. And we caught eyes and we just were like, "Oh my God." And I swear to God, like as busy as that place was, like it all went quiet, and it was just like
Mm.
Tammy and I looking at each other being like, "Oh my God."
Like you see in the
Yes.
movies where the whole world melts
Yeah.
away and it's just the two of
It
you
was
and
weird. And like from that moment on, we kind of pushed through people and hugged and sat down together. And she was with her group of friends and they're like, "Come on, we want to go to the other bar. And she's like, well, just a minute, just a minute. And so we were sitting there talking, and we both found out we were both single at the time. And I just like, because I could tell, like, her friends were doing this thing and we were going there and they were going here. And I was like, well, we should get together again sometime. And she said, oh, that'd be great. And I was like, how about tomorrow night? I didn't have much time. I was only home for like 2 more months. So she accepted and we met up and had a great relax, and we just found out that maybe there's something here. And it just progressively turned into, good Lord, 20. We've been together for 25 years and we've been married since 2002. So it'll be our 23rd year anniversary this summer. So yeah, it's crazy that certain things from the past renew, how they just happen, and we just knew it was right.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I love that you each had left your hometown, but then you came back to your hometown, like together, but each with such different life experiences.
Super.
That's so valuable.
It was super important. Met people, we'd both gone and done different things, experienced some life. And so we are kind of like at that point ready to be like, this is something real, and so we worked really hard to, I was still had a year of school left, and we wrote love letters back and forth because, and talked on the phone.
Right, where there was no texting.
Right. They did, cell phones were coming out, but it was very like minimal. And I couldn't afford to pay for one. So, and neither could she. And she works for her family jewelry store in town called Jandron's Fine Jewelry. So
lovely store.
It's a great place.
So you're in chiropractic school and, you and Tammy are dating, not married yet.
Right.
And do you know for sure that this is where you want to come back to? Like, are you like, I definitely want to come back to Marquette? Or does she want to come?
Well, that was like in that first 20-minute interview. When we were sitting at the landmark, I was just like, so what do you, and we are just kind of back and forth throwing questions. And I was just like, well, where do you want to end up? And she said, I'm not really sure where I want to end up. And she's like, well, how about you? And I said, Marquette, 100%, because I just, the lake, the town, being from here, it's a great community. And
it really is.
So, and with her family business being here, I don't think she would want to go anywhere else because she does like the sizing and retipping and fixing jewelry, and she's a pivotal part of that business. Everyone in that family is doing different things to keep it running. So they do a great job.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
So you graduate from chiropractic school, and then how do you come to be the business owner of Axis Chiropractic?
I had my eyes open. For some reason, I knew it would be very difficult to put a shingle on a door and start a new practice. So what I was looking for was either to become an associate of an established doctor or buy in or somebody. And I ran into Dr. Mike Milger, who was a chiropractor here for about 20 some years. He was looking to find a way out. This was kind of before I'd gone to India for a clinic abroad trip. He goes to India like every February. So we had that in common where we were like, oh my gosh, you went to India? And he's like, I go every year. He's like, I can live like a king there. And, so he really loved, and so we had that connection. And then we had some other connections, and we kind of, went back down to finish school, and he's like, and we just kept in contact. And I really liked him. He was very loving and caring guy. And when I came back and we decided that I was going to work with him and work into his practice, he presented me with a pencil written contract that he came up with himself.
Wow.
And we had like a 1, 2, 3 year buy-in, like with different like pricing.
Okay.
And so, I asked him, like, should we have a lawyer look at this? And he said, Brian, you can have a lawyer look at it and pay thousands of dollars, and and you can sign it, and something happens and you can pay more thousands of dollars, but this is what I promise we'll do if things go right. And and I was just like, so I signed it, and I bought him out after 3 years.
Okay.
And he lived in Gwyn, so he had a small, like, where he'd see friends and family at his house, and he would help me with things at the office, like the old x-ray machine. So we had this old single phase 1971 x-ray machine at the office.
Wow.
And
we're already in the 2000s here.
it was it had to be 2003 or 4. Yeah, it had to be 2004. I had a patient standing in front of the bucky. I pushed the button to get the rotor going, and all of a sudden my control panel started smoking.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was just like, whoa. So I took my hand off the rotor, I shut the power off, and I calmly told the patient, we're going to have to retake these x-rays next visit. And after they left, I called Dr. Mildred. I was like, Doc, this is Brian. The control panel is smoking. And he came to the office. He put his cheaters on. He had his little soldering kit and got that thing up and running, and it never had a.
Oh my gosh.
But back in those days, you could fix your own stuff.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
he knew how to do it.
I love this story for on so many levels. Like, first of all, that like two humans could have an authentic, like trusting,
Yes.
open, honest, like contract in pencil
Right.
without an attorney for each side. Like
Yes.
that number one, because when I bought the practice that I was an associate for, it was our two attorneys. I don't want to say fighting, but arguing over language and wording. And was it necessary? I don't know, but I did feel that it was in my best interest to be protected.
Yes.
And so I really love the thought of just being like, hey, let's shake on it. Or like the old school way of
Yeah.
like, when your word is your word. And then I love the fact that he came with his soldering kit. And fixed.
He would still fix, probably today if I called him to help me fix a table, he'd probably be there the next day now.
Oh,
He's just a
that's
great
so
guy.
cool.
So I got lucky in that respect.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you are now a chiropractor and you're working independently. You own Access Chiropractic, and some of these like Inventor juices start rolling.
They have been potential energy for many years. They were just sitting there boiling and percolating. As you know, as a chiropractor, you evaluate people. I prefer to have people sit on the little pod or a stool when they come in, because you can do your range of motion checks pretty easy. And 9 out of 10 kids, when they come, they sit like they're looking at a cell phone, even though they don't usually have it. But still, they have that hunch. And so for years, I just stuck my fist in their back, pulled back on their shoulder a little bit, and straightened them up so I could properly evaluate.
I can totally sort of see this. Like you put your hand like in the middle of a teenager's back and you like straighten them up.
Yeah.
I can visualize this. I hope our audience can. If there's a chair that doesn't have a back on it and someone's hunched over, and then you just sort of like straighten them up.
Parents sitting in the chair across from them would be like, geez, you look 3 to 4 inches taller than what you look like at home. And it was kind of like this running thing. And I had an elderly patient, her name was Edelgard, and Edelgard would come and she would sit on my chair, ear above shoulder, shoulder above hip. Perfect. I just couldn't believe how nice her posture was. So I asked her, how have you kept and maintained such great posture over all these years? And she said, growing up in Germany, her dad would have her and her brothers and sisters use a broomstick behind her back for 15 minutes a day. They would walk around the yard.
Wow.
And at that moment, it was like the chiropractic thing. Like I just had that like wave of like creepy crawlies. The pot had boiled over. And I had the light bulb moment that they tell you about, so it was really neat. And, of course, then I couldn't sleep that night. And I was like drawing pictures of like, my head was just like, because a broomstick, a hockey stick, PVC pipe, all these things that like even gyms use, like they hurt. Have you ever put one behind your back?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
No.
So I knew there was some sort of potential to come up with a device to help. At that point, I was really focusing on kids or adolescents, so you don't develop and grow into this poor posture if you can have a chance at slowing it down or correcting or changing it.
Like remodeling that spine, that posture, those ligaments, the
It's
muscles.
Muscle-skeletal, neurological re-education. So that's like, you have to tell your brain, this is how I should be, so your brain can reprogram the supportive muscles and ligaments and tendons and bone joint. Everything has, as chiropractors, Stephanie and I, we know this, but everything is grown off of a nerve. So all of that input that your nervous system gives your brain in feedback, it has to be a cycle. So we know that to integrate something into somebody's habits, it has to be persistent. And we have to really work hard to reprogram people's bad habits I thought it looked cool because it's made like a skateboard. And I wanted it to be cool. I wanted it to be comfortable. I wanted it to be something that would be a talking piece, something you could hang next to your desk at work. And it went from like kids to people working at computers to people chopping vegetables over counters, people reaching that age where they don't want to develop that dowager hump, which is just
Yeah.
a big word for hunching over as you get older. So that was kind of my foundation.
Yeah,
And
I love it. So you have this aha moment, you have this idea, you can envision it. And what is the actual first practical step that you take to make this like idea a reality?
so thankfully, here in Marquette at the same time, our university was starting this invention hub called Invent at NMU. And I'd come up with a drawing and some conceptual things and where I thought it should be placed. And it was funny because the place was opening in a couple months and it wasn't
Nice.
even open yet. So I went down there early because I'd seen cars parked there and I'd heard this guy that I knew was in there and his name's David Ola. So I pulled in there one day and he happened to be in there. They were getting things set up and I knocked on the window and he looked and he came to the door. He's like, "What's happening?" I was like, "I got this idea and it's driving me nuts."
Yeah.
And he invited me in. He's like, "Come on in, Brian."
Wow.
And so I don't know if I was the first but there was like, because there was people very excited about this. But he brought me in that day. We put some ideas, concepts up on a whiteboard. And I am a whiteboard learner.
Visual
Yeah,
and
the
like
visual.
writing it. And
Yes. Oh, yeah.
like, yeah, that tactile, like holding a pen or pencil, like,
Yes.
yeah.
I have to have
Absolutely.
that, like for whatever reason. Like I could sit and listen to somebody and walk away and be like, what did they talk about? I'm not sure.
And yet if you like write it or draw
Yes.
it or like, yeah, like we're such, I know so many of us are such
Mhm.
different learners and I'm like very much the same way. Probably why chiropractic spoke to us
Yeah.
just
We
so
use our
much with our
hands and
hands.
that something with the tactileness of our fingers and our brains are connected
Yeah.
somehow. So we started and went through many months of turnover of students, new ideas. One guy, his name was John Walsh. He was the CAD designer that came on and he used human-centered design CAD to come up with our eagles. And so that was a huge thing. Another girl named
Yes.
Hannah, she was the art designer. So like at that time I had the right people and it worked so cool where we came up with the design that somebody that's 4 foot can use it, and somebody that's the tallest patient that I've tried it on is 6'8", a state trooper named Tim, and he's a big dude, and you don't want this guy pulling you over, so drive safe out there. But anyway, no, he's super nice too. But he's just this huge man, and it fits him as well. And so we needed that size variation where
Yeah.
so many different people, shapes, and sizes could use it.
Because it truly is a one size fits all tool.
You have to
You
navigate
know,
all curves and bends, and man, it was pretty wild to get the platform.
and then what material will it be made out of?
Right.
And what,
We looked at plastics, we looked at metal. We were trying, the best thing that I feel we came up with was the hard press, like skateboard, maple veneer type product. And that's where I hatched that term of like, let's make posture cool again because, skateboarding is cool. It's just, and so that's how it was made. We found a skateboard company in Houghton, Michigan, John Julian. He's very intriguing entrepreneur there. They have a building company and just very open to experimenting. I'll absolutely take your project on. And
Cool.
they did so much for me up there to get it started. Somewhere down the road, so I think I sold about 300 on my initial year or so of selling, and it was so much fun. But something happened with the production company, and they just shut that plant down. I can't remember what happened, and then COVID hit.
oh gosh.
So then I had like this 2-3 years of nothing,
Yeah.
and nothing was happening. And so I was kind of a little frustrated, and I took a couple leaps that maybe I shouldn't have. I tried to have it made in plastic, so I put some money out on that, and then next thing I know, it's like not able to be made that way, because the injection molds were so weird, and it was just kind of like a lot of decisions that maybe I should have thought a little bit more researched on. But that's like when you want something so bad
Yeah.
because it can help people.
Mm-hmm.
You want it out there.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, during COVID, we didn't know how long it was going to
Right.
last. We didn't
Right.
know the extent of the pandemic.
Right.
We didn't know all the industries that would have been and were affected. I mean, when we were having like toilet paper shortages and
Yes.
meat shortages,
Right.
and people weren't able to go to work.
They weren't.
People,
So employment was hard for people, like people that have extra employees to do the work. Then
Mhm.
they are like, we can't get pressed wood right now, and then, so like, and then like everything was kind of held up. So,
yeah.
I sat back on it for a little while. And once we started coming out, I found a guy that was making them for me. And every shipment I get, I'd be so excited to open the box, but there'd be like little things wrong with them, so I just was like a little bit disappointed in that, where they were there and they still work, but they just weren't that skateboard quality that I've
Yeah.
had before.
To your
So
standard.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then a chiropractor I know out in Pennsylvania knew a guy that runs this Invention company, and he put me in contact with him. We had a great conversation. This guy invented it's called the Club Clean that everybody has on their golf cart, where you can clean a golf ball and you can clean your club. And he had sold millions of them.
Wow.
So he runs this thing, and he found out like helping people was his passion. So he helped me get it figured out. And in that whole time of it not being produced, I came across some other ideas, some other aha moments. So I started working out at a gym, and we use exercise bands to loosen up and warm up. And I looked at the 2 holes drilled in the wings of the posture plank, and I was just like, oh my God, I could put carabiners and exercise bands with handles in that and turn it into not only a posture enhancing product, but something you can use to enhance, stabilize, and strengthen all the supportive muscles for it. And I think that happened before I met Ed.
Okay.
So this was all kind of like happening at the same time. So I knew that I had something special and
Yes.
something different, and something where somebody could pull out from underneath the couch and do 15 to 20 minutes of strengthening, stabilizing, posture enhancement, right there in your living room.
Oh, and I think
Super easy.
this is like such an obstacle for busy people,
Yeah.
like me and you.
So
Like,
hard.
how are we going to get to the gym? When are we going to get to the gym? But like, we really all could incorporate 15 minutes either in our morning routine, our
Absolutely.
evening routine. Like, the ease of the use of this is really amazing, like really magnificent.
It took us, because we had to come up with like, how are we going to make these exercise bands fit somebody that's 4 foot tall and somebody that's 6'8",
Yes.
and we did a couple trials, and they're like, we decided to just do one exercise band for now. But after I get through selling and getting all the marketing and things squared away, I'm sure I'll be able to add more poundage of exercise band. Its main intention is just for rehashing and doing some strengthening, not necessarily building muscle. That's not what I made this for. You're not going to get bigger pecs from using posture plank. So that's kind of the purpose, is you want to stabilize what you've just tried to enhance, which is your posture, and solidify those advancements with the exercise after you've reset yourself. That's why I felt that this was such a cool way to do that. I've had a couple people say, yeah, 15, 20 minutes, all in a box,
Yeah.
quick, easy, under, it's like selling for right around $100, like with the 20% off. And that's like a whole nother thing with the pricing and figuring that. But Ed and I, we were able to work it to this point, have it sourced, and get it made. And it is so
Beautiful.
nice. It's durable. I can stand on it and like bounce on it. It's made like a skateboard, and like the exercise bands and carabiners, everything is set up to suit multiple different people, body types, and their needs. So I felt that with his help, it was very well thought through.
It's very cool because you have your original invention, the posture
Yes.
plank.
Yes.
And then you have this sort of secondary invention, this, I don't want to say bigger and better model, but the posture plank flex.
Yes.
So if someone is wanting to look online and get some more information, tell them how they can find this product. Where should they go?
Sure. Postureplank.com is my main website and retail source. The @ symbol posture plank is my Instagram. And right now I'm working with Innovate Marquette.
Yeah.
And so like my posture plank account on Facebook isn't as good as my Brian Kulbieda account. And they're like, you need to separate these. But I say, like, I mostly just do posture playing stuff anyways,
Yeah.
but I have it under my name and blah, blah, blah. So I'm still trying to get all that worked out. I just joined TikTok.
Oh,
Yeah. So like, so that's like a funny one, but I haven't figured out how to do like, the ones where like they do like the dance kind of things. Like I'm like, where is that? Where do you even find? I don't even know that, and that's that trouble with
being our age.
being our age, trying to acclimate like these new things. But it's all a huge learning curve. This is another like thing that I would never even have thought. And how cool is that we have somebody in Marquette doing that, you know? Yeah. So
Well,
it's really interesting.
I think it's so cool that you're an inventor, that you've had this like inventor spirit within you all your life, and that you came up with this brand new organic idea that no one else has ever come up with, that you navigated from start to finish. How do you create the product? How do you source it? Who manufactures it? And even like talking a little bit about the artwork that is on the posture plank,
Oh,
talk a little bit about that.
yeah, that was it's one of those funny things. And again, I kind of, if you do see my stuff, I kind of lean towards more of like entertaining people, and like I want people to laugh and still see like the quality and like the nature and the like the professional end of it. But I still respond well to laughter. Is kind of that thing that touches me. It's one of those things where I looked up evolution because I wanted like the evolutionary thing of how humans had developed.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the perfect one where they show the evolution, and it comes to the person that's upright and standing and walking upright, and then it starts showing how, like, as we're on computers and cell phones, we start degrading back to what we started from.
Yeah.
And again, I'm it's I don't mean to get into, like, it's not a religious thing. It's not like it's, I had a lady that she's like, I don't really agree with the art. And at that time I had decals. And so I
Okay.
looked at her and I looked at my plank, and she really wanted to buy one, but she didn't know about the artwork. So I kind of picked up and I pulled the sticker off, and I'm like, there, now, how'd it go? So again, it isn't.
So this woman was sort of thinking that you were alluding to the fact that we came from chimpanzees because, that hunched over position, sort of like that first thing. So she didn't agree with this evolutionary image.
Yes.
Okay.
So that came, and I just, like I said, I Googled evolution and I found this, and I just really resonated with me. I liked it. It kind of portrayed what I wanted the posture plank to do, and to fight against the computer and cell phone and iPad and the hunching. So I contacted the artist, and I found his like blog space or whatever he had his stuff on. And I just messaged him like, hey, I really like this image. Can I use this can I pay to use this as on my product that I invented?
Yeah.
And a day later, he responded, and he said his name. Have to look, but again, he was from India.
Wow.
And he was so happy that I liked his image, and he said $100 and you can have the rights to use it.
Oh my gosh.
So we used PayPal and sent him $100, and it's on all my posture planks at the moment. And someday I was thinking it'd be neat to do like what do they call it? Whiteboard, or where you can have like your own like business put on there. You see, it's almost like merch. Like
Yes. Yeah, like
your
Black
mug.
Rocks has the
Like mugs, or like your posh plank, you could have a BlackRock symbol on, or printed,
Yes.
or like Apple or Google. If they wanted to do that for their company, they could put Google on there and have that be their posture plank. So anyway, but we're far from that.
Yeah.
But
I think this speaks to the depth of like you're dealing with legal issues. Like you're dealing with like you're wanting to make sure that you have the rights to a picture or an image, and
yes,
making sure that is it patented? Is there a patent? Is there?
we went down that road. I had a provisional patent written up, and so we did that initially. a lot of work. And there's a guy in town that does that. But I really wanted validation of like, are people going to buy this? Do they want it? And to do a full-fledged patent, well, you're looking at like $10,000 to $12,000. I wasn't sure that there was a lot of talk about, do we do this? The thing that I came up with was, let's sell as many as we can, and if somebody copies it, like say a big company like Nike copies it, right? And they put it out there for sale. And I'm like little Brian Kulbieda here in this small town. And I say, hey, you can't do that. They'll just beat you down in court with lawyer fees.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, how do you fight against a monster, and so I kind of am like taking my risk of like not patenting it. I have my name trademarked, like Posture Plank is trademarked.
Good.
I stand corrected. The LLC that I had, I had to do a business name and then a product name. So we came up with I Stand Corrected, which is
I love it.
It was even brought up at the board meeting at our credit union where like one of our board members, is this company name a joke on here? And I said, well, actually, it's my company name. And they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't. But it was kind of one of those funny things. Again, a play with words, a play. Yeah. And what have you, I'm sure you have like a mug or a cooler that looks like a Yeti. And I always tell people that if I'm copied, I will always be the original. And everything seems to be copied at some point. Like the Yeti coolers, I use that example because you see everything and anything that looks like a Yeti, but it's not.
You're right. Or a Stanley mug.
Stanley mug, yes.
The Stanley mug.
Yeah. And what I'm hoping is that my product is going to be of the best quality because, to make a skateboard, you have to make it real good. And even if somebody used plastic to make it, I have a sustainable product where it's made from hardwood. So that's that little thing where I really feel that I don't want it to get copied, but again, if it does, it may be a compliment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that you're the original. And that this was your invention. There's no like doubt about it. People can see that. All of the different people who've been with you on this journey.
Yes.
It truly is amazing.
It's been 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a long, crazy time. And now the big question is, how do we reach the masses and market it? Because I think my Facebook friends are a little sick of all my fun things that I try to put out there. But still, it's just like, I'm hoping that different things will trigger people to buy one. In my eyes, and I feel everybody should have one. I think every household should have a posture plank. And that's kind of where my thinking is. And it's just a matter of education, actually getting to use it and try it and see what it does. Because I think that's a huge part of like having it be out there that people can try it and use it. So I've set up a little spot in my office called the Posture Zone. So people could stop in and check it out.
Yep. And I have one here in my office.
Yes, definitely have.
Show my patients. And I truly believe in this product.
Thank you.
And if you are listening, and hopefully we're reaching people outside of our current communities.
Yes.
Please go online, postureplank.com.
Yes.
Dr. Brian Kulbieda, DC.
Yes.
Posture Plank has its own Instagram as well.
Yes.
So, Dr. Brian, is there anything else that you want to say wrapping up today?
I thought we had a lot of fun. That was a lot of good stories. And that's, I've heard some of these podcasts and Stephanie does a fantastic job. And it's an honor to be invited to come and do this because it's fun. So I recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I do recommend the Posture Plank. And I think it's really amazing that you had this idea, that you brought it all the way through, that you brought it, through all of those obstacles, and you've succeeded. You have a great product. If you do follow even me, Dr. Stephanie Wautier, Wautier Wellness, on Instagram, Facebook, I'm going to be posting some of the videos. So for those golfers getting ready for their summer game, those teenagers who have spent their, semester studying noses in the books, getting your spine healthy is going to make every bit of you healthy. And the Posture Plank is an integral part of that. I truly believe it.
I do too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, like, or subscribe? You can find me on social media at wautierwellness.com, Dr. Stephanie Wautier on Instagram, or Wautier Wellness Chiropractic and Massage on Facebook. and I'm so curious where your next conversation will take you.